Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Five Boys in Business, a podcast where we talk about the business, our family, and the many shenanigans involved. Before we get started, I'd just like to thank everybody for listening.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Yep. It's been good. We're running really late today
Really late.
because, in case anybody knows, I got my hair done today
I noticed.
with highlights, and it takes time for this.
Takes time. Beauty
So
takes time.
what I'm saying
You have a head start, though. I mean, let's be honest. You have a head start. Go ahead.
Okay, I know, like you always say, it's like polishing a diamond.
Yes, polishing a diamond. Still a diamond.
That's right. Okay, so, but I also have to give a shout out to Joni Weiss. How do you pronounce EI?
It's interesting you asked that.
Mr. Homeschooler.
I
This
don't
is
know.
why I can't teach homeschool.
That's why you preface it by, I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Okay, so Joni did my hair today. If you like it, you can go check her out. Sola Salons. Sola Lofts. I can't talk. She's criminal. Clearly why I don't teach homeschool. Okay. I am good at math, but that's about it. Okay, so yeah. So we're running late, so we apologize.
Sola. S-O-L-A.
Sola Lofts.
Is it a loft?
Sola Lofts. She's her own entity within.
Yeah, they like rent.
Yes.
Yeah, she's like her own
She's
place.
the mastermind behind what you see.
So she goes by W-I-E-S-E?
W-E-I-S-E.
I think it's Weiss.
I believe.
I think it's Wise.
Okay.
I think.
So, yeah.
Good for her. Shout out to Joni.
Are you on her page, Harrison? No. Sola Lofts. L-O-F-T. Yeah.
That, it's funny you mentioned that because she does, well, not just she. I mean, they have a really cool setup in there. Usually, like the booth rental type places, you go and it's just a chair, whereas this is more like a true, room, and
it's her birthday today.
Oh,
so happy birthday to Joni. She's been doing my hair since
we've had this place open. She was like 18 or 19 or something, whatever it is.
Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah.
Like
I want to say she was out of high school. She graduated from, obviously she was out of high school.
Right.
So maybe she was 19.
Yeah.
20. I don't know.
She was young.
It seems like a long time.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday to Joni.
Hats off to Joni.
She's been doing my hair since then.
So yeah.
Making me look good.
So we had a heck of a weekend. Talk about our adventure this weekend with the power outage.
Oh, yeah. Power went out.
So
Yes.
I drive back. I'd been gone for a few days. I had to go down to Tennessee for some things. And I come back Saturday, got back about midday or so. And I was running around doing some stuff. I don't know what I was doing. I did two things. Oh, I took Johnny. Johnny was finally able to get his hands on an Xbox. And he went to pick it up the other day. And they said, Are you Richard King? He said, no. So I had to go with him to get it. So that was the first thing I did. And I did something else. I went and I did some other errand. I can't remember what it was, but Emily said, you want to go around the short block with Winnie? I was like, of course. So we walked the dog around. We were gone maybe 10 or 15 minutes, maybe. And we walked in the house and Trevor says, I have bad news. And I noticed immediately that everything was unusually dark in the house. I'm like, great, power's out. So, and of course it was about to snow and we had the Traeger going.
Oh, yeah. It just started snowing, and the Traeger had wings on it.
Yes.
10 pounds of wings, nonetheless.
Yeah, and it just went kaput. So I was like, I was tired and I was cranky. I was like, I'm going to buy a generator. And Emily says, really? And I go, I'm going to buy it right now. So I ran over to Lowe's, and I was looking, and I called her, and I go, hey, which one do you want? She goes, get the biggest one you can. I go, okay. So I talked to the lady.
Well, that's because the power's been going out.
It's been going. It's gone out twice in the past month.
Twice in the past week.
Right.
But then before that, our side of the street, freaking heck, is always the one that goes out.
Right.
On our side of the street.
And it's an older neighborhood, so I mean the infrastructure, I get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go and I say, where's this 8,000 watt? Do you have any of those in stock? She says, no, but Nobles has two. I was like, okay. So I get over to Noblesville, and we get this. Me and this guy are able to wrestle this extraordinarily heavy generator onto the flat cart, and I get it out. We get it home, and we get it unboxed. And I've got the car in the driveway pointed into the garage with the headlights, everything running to try and
because now it's dark.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it together, and it's already dark, and so we're putting this thing together. And we finally get it going. We crank it up, and it is loud as hell. I mean, it sounds like a Harley on steroids, and just wah. And but we got everything going. We got
wings.
TV going.
We had wings by whatever time it was.
Well,
10:30 at night.
The funny thing is that the wings.
Did you send Harrison the pictures?
No, the funny thing is the wings had already been on the trigger for a bit, and when it went off, it just sat there. So we probably overcooked them slightly.
Yeah.
But anyway, the funny so
we plugged the trigger into the generator.
So we have the generator and the trigger, and I was looking at this first world problems right here, man. So anyway, we were watching, and the crew is the outage appeared to be right behind
our house.
So their crews were working and stuff, and then
yeah.
So anyway, it was dark, so we were looking out, and Emily said, "Why do the people over there have their power?"
Yeah, I was staring out the back window.
She goes, and I was like, "I don't know."
Their floodlights are off, and they were part of the group.
Yeah, the grid.
It was like this cone shape down our neighborhood, down our street.
And then she goes outside, and she goes, "The neighbors have power." And I was like, "What?" So we go out there, and I go, "What? How does everybody have power but us?" And then Emily said, "Oh my God, go check the breaker." So last week I'd done something with we were putting the dishwasher in. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Okay, come here." And he goes, "Can I do it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is the main breaker. You turn this off, to turn everything off." So we go down there, and the ottoman is below the breaker box, and the main is off.
The main is off because he went down there when it went off. He was convinced that it was our house. It was just our house. The power was out just at our house. The breaker had probably been flipped. He needed to flip the breaker in order to fix the problem because it was just our house.
Yeah.
And I was like, "It's not. Look on the street. It's everybody." And he's like, "You can't tell. No one else has their lights on. Like, it's just us. It's our house." And I'm like, "Calvin, it is not just our house." Well, anyway, he went down there, and you know how it's on.
Yeah.
When the power goes out, it just stays on.
Yeah.
Well,
just turns it off.
He turned it off, but then you can't turn it back on when the power's off.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, well, it wasn't. He couldn't turn it back on.
Well, because it's hard. It's easy to flip it down.
And then he tried to flip it back up.
You can't flip it back up.
Yeah. So that next morning, I was like, "Yeah, Dad went downstairs and." I mean, we were laughing because I was telling him, I said, "You know what happened?" I said, "After you fell asleep last night, we didn't realize that the power was off at our own house because our own circuit breaker was off. And then I realized that you had been down there." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that was me."
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
So we didn't sit too long with the generator. I'm sure the neighbors were like, "Why do they have the generator still going?"
The thing is loud as heck.
Like, the power's on. Why do you have the generator going?
Right.
Although we wouldn't have been able to switch it over if the trigger wasn't done because then it shuts the trigger off.
Yeah, but they were pretty much done, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got that. That was our escapade for the weekend. And, Sunday was somewhat non-eventful.
Calvin story. That was it.
Yeah, that's our big Calvin story. So, yeah, a great weekend. It was so funny, though, to come from Tennessee where it's warm and,
Warmer,
it's very seasonable. And then I come up here and there's 6 inches of snow on the ground. It's so weird.
It was nice, though. It was good to have snow, although it wasn't the best snow to go do things
wet.
in.
Super wet.
So, Harrison, you went sledding.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You had a good time? Forest Park. If you haven't been sledding there, that's a place to go. It's a lot of fun.
Do you remember taking Harrison sledding in the Centennial? He was little.
Yeah.
On that big hill, and I was at the top of the hill.
Yes.
And I saw him going down. I was like, oh, no. I mean, he was beeline for this girl and just took her out.
Yes.
I'm like, you okay?
No, my favorite sledding story with Harrison is when he went sledding and he had a basketball game and he hit his butt.
What happened with that? How did you? You guys bruised my butt. Your 8th grade? Was it 8th grade?
Yes.
And you're so mad at him because I was like, why did Harrison come out?
It was either 7th or 8th grade. You went with Scotty or somebody in the neighborhood, and it was on Brookshire, and you hit a stump. Is that what happened? And he could not walk. He couldn't run. He couldn't walk. It was horrible.
That gives me flashbacks to that dance he went to that time, and his pants were too small, and he was duck walking. I'll never forget that. We've told this on here before. He goes, "Where's my pants?" I go, "Oh no, they're at the cleaners and they're closed because it's Saturday night." So he has pants on like 2 years before, hiking up, flooding.
Oh God!
Was it just the pants? I think it was. Wasn't it?
Was just the pants, I think.
And he had gotten red suspenders, but they were like the Dickies, like the real wide Dickies ones. It's like you need to be carrying a toolbox if you wear those.
Harrison? Yes. Oh God.
So anyway, yeah, very funny stories.
The worst part about me bruising my tailbone was that Mom was convinced I was just a big baby, and so she forced me to play the basketball game. And here I am getting rebounds and running, and it hurts so bad. And I was like, "Mom, I have to come out." And she was like, "Fine, you can come out." And I went out. And she was
Harrison
mad.
bore the brunt of all this stuff.
Harrison, yeah, it was,
poor Harry.
And now it probably looks like to Harrison that we're so wimpy with the other kids.
Yeah, what was the thing that happened? So one of the kids got a phone, and they're like 9 or 10. He goes, "What? You got a phone at 9 or whatever it was?" I think it was Johnny, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah, that probably was the case.
so yeah, poor Harrison. Our apologies, my boy. So, what's our picture of the week?
Let me pull it up real quick.
Do you are you still saying not that one?
What? I gave him that one. I thought it was funny. It's actually a segue, and I was wondering if he's going to choose that one. It's a segue. Is it on the screen?
You need to do your little thing, Harrison. It is dun 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 dun. It's Richie story time. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Do you remember this though, right?
Oh yes.
Okay, so my dad he always has, and not so much now because he's much older, but this is either right when we got married or right before we got married or something like that. So anyway, he decides to start making these fountains and sell them. So I don't know where he gets this rock, but he gets these bowls somewhere and puts these rocks in here, and it's basically just this recirculating thing. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna make these fountains and sell them." I was like, "Where the hell are you gonna sell these at? What do you? I mean, this is before Etsy or any of that stuff." I was like, "He goes, yeah, I'm gonna make a lot of money." And I was like, "No, you're not. I wouldn't buy that. What?" So anyway,
There
my
was
dad's
no
idea.
Etsy back then.
No, it's like this is great, but
I don't know how he was gonna sell them.
but that was the idea. He was like, "I'm gonna sell them."
But there was no like
Pipeline.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do? So anyway, that was I don't even remember. That must have been. Oh, that was in that box of pictures that I found. So that was in there, and yeah, that was my dad's idea that never came to fruition because the fountain market was depressed at the time. There was a glut of fountains in the market at the time, such that prices were too low to make.
That's too funny.
Make it. So this kind of segs into my other story about my dad that I said remind me to tell you this story.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I referenced last week Ben Franklin Motors. And Ben Franklin Motors still exists, and what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of these places are like offshoots of larger dealerships. So
Sure.
like in Knoxville, there's Ted Russell Ford. They'll take all of their cars under a certain value that are trade-ins and shoot them off to these other ancillary used car lots, you know?
Right.
Because, I mean, if you're selling higher-end cars, you don't want $2,000 cars on your lot,
Right.
you know? And another story, you certainly don't want a 1988 Dodge Aries with the rear end caved in. You don't want that on your lot. That's a subject for another story. So at any rate, I ended up going and I was looking for a new car because I had a 69 Mustang, as I've discussed here, and I was like, I'm done. I want to be done with this car. I need something that I can drive. So I started looking around lots, and I wound up on old Ben Franklin Motors. And of course, I was didn't have any credit. I was only 18 or something. I wasn't old enough to buy it on my own. So of course I had to involve my dad, which is always a challenge. So anyway, we're looking at these cars. My dad gets out there, and we're going back and forth with these two salesmen. I don't even remember. And I ended up finally, just to kind of speed up a little bit, I eventually bought an 82 Nissan Stanza that I had for a while. And it was, $1,500. Not a great car, but better than what I had. Anyway, so we're looking at these cars, and I'll never forget my dad was kind of going back and forth with these two salesmen there. And he goes, "Can you pop the hood?" They pop the hood. So he's looking on the hood, and he goes, "Huh, I think I hear something." And he looks around, and he goes, "Either of you have a broom handle?" And he goes, the two people are like, "Huh? All right.
Son, you need a broom handle."
So I don't remember how we got the broom handle, but a half broom handle showed up from somewhere. So my dad takes the broom handle and sticks it on the engine and just puts his ear to it and goes, "You hear that?" He goes, "There's a rod knocking." And I'll never forget going, I'm 18, I know nothing. And these two poor salesmen were looking at each other like, "Huh?" So that was the tale of the Stanza and the broom handle.
So he bought it?
And
even though he heard
I don't
something?
remember. I just remember that the broom handle and the two salesmen looking at each other incredulously going, "I've seen a lot of shit. Never seen this."
What was the broom handle supposed to be doing?
You're supposed to amplify the sound so you can hear it. Diet. I told you it's a great story.
Oh my god, that's a mess. I love it. Was he like legit serious too.
Legit. I was like, if this is a negotiating tactic, I need to know because this is off the charts. Yeah, I'd pay you that $1,500 except for that broom handle experience. I'll pay you $1,250.
Oh god.
But I must not have. Yeah. So that's the tale of the broom handle and my dad. That's what I'm dealing with. That's what I'm dealing with and stuff.
Oh my god. So when you got in the car, he didn't go, son. Now listen, let me tell you. This is why you use the broom handle.
I'll never forget one time we were getting something at a auto parts store. He was so mad because my Mustang, the solenoid kept blowing, or the carburetor, something. We were in the auto parts store, and he was like talking to this guy about this part. He goes, well, what kind of part's it in? I was like, Dad, it needs the solenoid. You can't. And he goes, he like gives this dismissive look. I was like, I know what I'm talking about. I work on the thing all the time. The alternator went out. God, I mean, it was just a mess.
God.
So, and it was funny because after my dad helped me get that Nissan Stanza, I didn't know at the time, but the reverse didn't work great. It was the manual. So you put it in reverse and let the clutch out. Something was wrong with the transmission. It would go pow, 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 and it would just kind of force itself back. And I got used to just parking where I could pull through. Mm-hmm. So I never had to use the reverse.
All right.
One time we went up to Kroger on Western Avenue up the street in the stands, and my dad was sitting there next to me. And we pull in, and then we come out, and we get in. I put it in reverse and let it out, and it's like, bah, 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 you know. He looks at me and goes, what the hell was that? And I go, I don't know. It's just the way it is. So,
oh, gosh.
So that was the car that, and then the battery, something happened to the alternator, and I decided to park on a hill wherever I went. I remember driving to Pellissippi, and I have to park up on this hill, this gravel hill lot, so I could just let the clutch out and pop it.
Oh, my God.
It was horrible.
Funny.
And then I sold that for like $500 or so, I forget. Then my dad, so my grandfather bought me. I never forget, my grandfather called me one day, my dad's dad, and he goes, I got something to tell you. I bought you a car. I was like, really? I mean, we weren't used to getting stuff like that.
All right.
And I said, oh yeah, what'd you get? And he goes, a 1987 Dodge Aries. I'm like, yay, that's a great car. Great, thanks, buddy. So, and that car had a terrible habit. About every 12 months, the sensor would go out. So you're sitting there, and it would just rev all on its own. You're going down the highway, and it's like, it was horrible. And it cost $100. The reason I know how much it costs is because I went and got it fixed once. It was $450, and I'd gotten at Sam's Club. It was during Christmas, and I'd made a lot of money because we worked a lot during Christmas, and all the money I'd made, extra money I made,
it went to the
freaking Dodge Aries, and then I got rear-ended, and that goes to the story of when I bought my truck. When you knew me, my Toyota, my '93 Toyota pickup truck, brand new car, my first brand new car, and I went and trade, and I talked to the salesman. It was a closeout. It was $59.99. Was the price of the car, and I remember the salesman. I went and pulled up, and he comes out and he gets in the car and he goes, "Well, I talked to my sales manager. We got a trade-in price." I go, "Oh yeah, how much?" He goes, $300. I go, "Done, buddy," because the rear end was caved in, and it was funny because I drove it around like that for a while because those cars are boxy, and when I got rear-ended, it just caved the whole back in. So I came in one day, and this guy named Greg Buckner worked at Sam's. He was coming. He goes, "I see you're driving old sag ass." It's like, gotta get a new car, buddy.
Oh.
So that truck was cool, though.
Yep.
That was a cool truck. Emily and I had a lot of. Was one of the first. That's the car that I had when we started dating.
Yep, it sure was.
So yeah, was it. So that's the story of the Nissan Stanza. Finally, I sold it to my uncle's friend Junior. The broomstick. But I don't remember. We went to Old Ben Franklin Motors several times, and then I don't know how we wound up with that car. But
oh my gosh, that's
why
funny.
I have I'm not a big fan of used cars now. Certain classes of used cars.
Right. No, I get that. It could definitely warp your sense of trust and reliability.
Because something will go wrong. It's not a question of if; it's a question of when.
Yep.
So that's it. That was the story.
Well, that was worth waiting.
Yeah.
That was pretty darn funny.
Yeah. So I've got a million of them like that. I'll bring a picture of my dad's boat sometime. My dad's big boat.
Oh yes.
Remember the big boat that he had? He wouldn't let me drive. He actually let me drive it once on the lake, Watts Bar. And I'm driving, and I'm like, we're not going that fast. He comes over and he takes the throttle back and goes, "Oh, watch out, there's a log right up there." It's like, okay, Dad, there's a log. I don't see it. My eyes are better than yours. I guarantee it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, lots of fun stories like that. But those are the things that's funny because you look back at the time, you think this is horrible. Not that boat story, but like the car story, all that stuff. But that's, in retrospect, as an older person, you look back and you go, that's what makes life colorful because it's so funny.
I mean, I think that's what a lot of people talk about, right? Is that your shared stories are ones of where you had to overcome something or something is hard or whatever. You know what I mean? That's what you sit around and think about or talk about or laugh about.
Yeah.
Like, so you and your sisters or your family, when you talk about the funny things, those are the things that we're trying or hard or whatever.
Right. Or just in retrospect, there was I was talking to the guy that I talked to in Tennessee about, he talked about setting a field on fire by accident once. And as an adult, and he said the volunteer fire department shows up, and I'd already put it out, but they still charge you $1,000 because they're volunteer fire departments.
Right.
So, and I told him, I was like, yeah, that reminds me of the story when I was a kid, when I accidentally set the field on fire in the back of our house.
Right.
And I was blind panic. I'm never forget running back up to the house. How it started was because you're young and stupid. I was taking matches and burning a patch of grass and stomping it out. Well, I waited a second too long, and it got out of hand and got into the hedge, and it was windy that day, and it was in the spring. So it just took off. I mean, and I remember running to the house and looking back, and it was just this flame off the thing. I was like, this is not good. So my mom gets on the phone and calls my granddad who lived down the road, and she goes, get down here, Richie set the field on fire. So my grandfather, I mean, this thing proceeds to burn the entire hedge, is out in the field, and my grandfather shows up in this old blue Dodge government surplus truck, gray step side, just tearing down the driveway in the gravel, jumps out with a broom and a rake and just goes over and starts cussing. Anyway, I thought I was going to get murdered, but my mother, I remember we walk out there and we're looking at this smoldering, barbed wire fence that contained years, decades probably of honeysuckle and just dried stuff. And she's like, I've been trying to think of a way to get rid of all that, so that's okay. I was like, damn, dodged a bullet on that one. Woo! So,
oh gosh.
So somebody called the fire department too, because they showed up but didn't come in the driveway.
I think one of my favorite, funniest stories though is the one where somebody got their boot stuck in the mud.
That was Jessica.
Yeah.
That was my sister.
Yeah.
So what happened was, behind our house, same house, and people don't know, in Tennessee, they let the water out in the winter for flooding.
Right.
So behind our house is kind of it's not a drainage ditch. It's basically a ditch that flowed into the Emory River Clinch. I can't remember. I think Emory. I can't remember. But anyway, it would back up. So in the wintertime, it was just mud.
Right.
It was just, if it rained a lot, it would fill back up. In the summertime, it was full. You get fish and carp back there. It wasn't deep, maybe a couple deep, even at its deepest point in terms of water. So it was just kind of a flat land, not a marsh because the water flowed. But anyway, so one day I was in the backyard, and Jared and I, because my younger brother and sister, Jared and Jessica, they're twins. And so I was, I don't remember. I was maybe 12. So they were maybe 5 or 6. And Jared and I were going to go back, and we had our boots on. We're going to go back and walk around in the muddy spot, just look around, just being dumb. You're bored. There's nothing to do. So we were going, then Jessica comes out. She goes, I want to go. And we're like, no, you can't go. And she goes, I'm going to tell Mom. I'm like, God dang it. All right, come on. So the whole point of this is not to get caught.
Right.
You're kind of sneaking around. When you get back, you rinse off your boots. It didn't happen,
Right.
So we get back there, and they both have these little red boots on, like you have as kids that come up a little bit past your ankles, these up the sides, all that stuff. And I've got my green boots on. We're walking around in the mud. And Jared and I are walking around looking at stuff. And Jessica's like, my feet keep getting caught. And I was like, oh my God. We turn around, her foot had gotten caught. And she had one boot on, and one boot was stuck in the mud a few steps back. And she was like, it was like a muddy sock. And they were like, oh, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden she goes, whoa, whoa, boof, and just falls right into the mud.
Oh, God.
I was like, we are dead. I was like, you're never coming on this ever again.
You're never coming on a secret.
And I don't remember if we got in trouble, but she kind of blew it. But it was one of those things.
One of those things, siblings.
Yeah, so.
Siblings will blow it.
I was trying to think if there's any other funny stories like that. Not really, because they were so little. They were so little back then.
So the Super Bowl's coming up this weekend.
Yep.
And Harrison, do you have the predictions? What we all predicted?
Mine's gone. I predicted no and no.
You said no and no after saying whatever and whatever. I can't remember.
I'll make a prediction. I don't think. I mean,
you already made your prediction.
No, but they're there. I'm talking about who's going to win this game.
Oh, you want to now say who's going to win this?
I don't.
Game? Okay.
And it's just purely anecdotal. Watching both games, I think the Chiefs probably take them.
You're going with Chiefs.
I just thought they looked too strong. Then again, I thought the Saints looked too strong, and I thought the Packers looked too strong. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Chiefs too.
You think so?
Yeah. What are you saying, Harrison?
Dad said no to the Chiefs. Dad said no to the Bucks winning and going to the Super Bowl. So that's what he said no to clarify.
Right.
I think the Chiefs win.
So we're all picking Chiefs.
You know, it's actually super unfortunate because if you watch the Packers Bucks game, the Packers easily could have beaten them, but they just never took advantage of the misses by the Bucks that they made during that game. Brady threw 3 interceptions in a row and they did nothing. Nothing happened.
They lost it themselves.
Plus, they got that one touchdown that was just like a third quarter.
It was a fumble.
Third down.
Fumble, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but it was.
Oh
a
no,
third
that
down
one.
play.
It was up before halftime, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And they just threw a Hail Mary and got it.
Yeah. So.
Do you think? Let's talk about something else. Do you think Brady comes back even if they don't win? I think.
Yes.
You think he does at 44?
Yes.
Said he'd be willing to play until he's 45.
Yeah.
Hats off to that guy. Good God.
I think he's been really lucky because he hasn't been injured. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't had to struggle through injuries and whatnot.
We had that bad knee injury.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that, like from like like Peyton with his neck and then the weakness in your arm because of the.
I'm not a Brady fan at all, but you got to give a guy props for if he's able to play that long.
I like him better now that he's not on the Patriots.
What I think is fascinating is that the Patriots without him have just been
Well, now what I want to know is who are the Colts getting? That's really
Not Matthew Stafford.
Not Matthew Stafford.
Really?
Nope. He went to the Rams.
He went to the LA Rams.
So
God,
I really,
what are you
I think
doing?
they're going to start with a young quarterback again, probably or something.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Those are tough though, man. Because I mean, you had Peyton and then you had Luck, and then Luck didn't work out. You know, I don't know. We'll see. See what happens. So interesting.
Okay, so we probably got to wrap it up there, don't we?
You have nothing else to talk about, really?
Well, because we're starting so late with your schedule.
Oh yeah, I got to roll here. In a minute.
So, yeah. Harrison, do you have anything to add for this week? No. So we'll be back next Monday.
Yep, next Monday.
And we should be back earlier next Monday because we shouldn't have any. Hopefully, we always say that, but hopefully not.
Well, this Monday was weird.
And before closing, thanks again, everybody, for listening.
Yes.
Don't forget to you can listen on any of the podcast channels.
Yep.
So don't forget to check those out.
I don't know if I can top the broomstick stanza story, but I'll certainly try.
Hey, Mom, did you say that? Did you mention verbal was the thing along with Rumble? Did you mention that a few weeks ago?
Verbal?
How about I say yes? Do I sound really smart if I say yes?
I was just gonna say because I thought a few weeks ago you said, "Oh yeah, like Rumble and verbal are a thing," And I got an email the other day saying that we are on verbal. So I was just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Sure, yeah, I said that. No, I do think though that Rumble's a thing.
I will tell you, and this is just very
right. Rumble's a thing.
Yeah, Rumble's a thing. I will tell you that during my drive this past weekend, I went to Spotify and listened to some podcasts that are Spotify exclusives. And I really like their platform better than Apple's podcasts platform.
Okay.
In terms of just ease of use and stuff. So to the extent, and this always happens in every, you have somebody comes in, dominates the market, and then you have fragmentation.
Yeah.
That always happens.
I say let's support the little guy.
So yeah.
Seeing that we're a little guy.
Yeah. So it'll be lots of different choices. So.
Okay.
That's
and nobody wants to offer any stock picks this week, right? Okay.
Yeah. Definitely don't buy. Well. Probably can't. Probably can't buy it.
Gosh.
GameStop, BlackBerry. Although I was showing Harrison that BlackBerry shot up to 20s, back down to 14. I was like, you just need to see that bit of a sideways movement. Because if you bought in at 20, you lost 25% just like that.
Yeah.
That's why you got to be real careful about those upper moves like that, which I think shows that the whole GameStop thing is even more illogical. I mean, just unbelievable that it would continue to go up and have this insane
We should have
action.
probably talked about that in this podcast because I guarantee there are other people who don't understand that whole thing. And it took me running through it several times to get it.
Can I tell you something? This whole thing though has rekindled my interest in. That's what I studied in undergrad, was finance.
Right.
So I've always loved this stuff, to watch it and make predictions and things like that. I love the game part of it. I think it's really cool to see what. So it's interesting because some of the stuff's like people say, I don't understand this, and I read it and go, oh, this is what this means.
Right.
I understand. But I think it's also brought to the fore a lot of the shenanigans that goes on, both at the hedge fund level and then at what they're upset with what basically their own business model.
Right.
Just they're not a part of the opposing business model.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like, oh, there are adults around. I was like, I guess.
Well, maybe more to come. We'll see what happens over this week. We can chat about it next Monday.
I think I'll make a prediction.
Okay, sure.
I think.
Let me guess. No and no.
That's not a stock.
Oh gosh.
No, I think they're going to choose. I think something's going to happen is I think these people, the hedge funds are really good at it. They know what they're doing and they have access to more money than God. So they're going to crush a lot of these people that probably did some of this stuff. Crush, I mean, collectively. I mean, they'll do something.
Doesn't matter. Those people made their money.
No, but I'm saying they're looking for another target now. Like, let's say you liquidated and you made $50,000 on the GameStop play. Well, you're going to put the money somewhere else. You're part of this community. So it'd be interesting to see if the hedge funds don't try and target some of these companies of interest and then go in and crush them.
Yeah, but they were all individual investors, weren't they?
Yeah, which makes it a lot more difficult. If you're going against ABC Capital and you're EFG Capital, it's different.
Right.
You have one person one thing you're going against versus this is so decentralized.
Yeah.
It's got to be millions of people that are taking part in that. But what else is interesting is the power of relatively small numbers.
Right.
You take this. I mean, I haven't looked at the volume for the GameStop trades over the past week or so, but I mean, it doesn't take that much when there's not a lot of traffic to jack those prices way up because no one's buying it.
Right.
It's $2. It's basically bankrupt. It's a pawn shop. So, it's fascinating, but how quickly you can go in and not manipulate's the wrong word, but make a market.
Right.
Where one didn't exist before. I mean,
right.
Look out for Dogecoin.
You book up. I looked at Dogecoin. I'm not impressed. It's 6 cents. That's 6.34. 6 cents. R went in the crapper. I don't know. That is according to a lot of people that I trust.
Do not follow our investing advice.
Yeah, really. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Entertainment purposes only. Exactly.
Do not rely or otherwise act upon this advice or information.
There you go. There's your Dogecoin.
Mom, it's Doge.
Dogecoin. What's it trade now?
Not Doge.
372.
Doge.
Is that it? Really? Yep. I thought it was at 6 cents.
It dropped.
When was it at 6 cents? Last week?
Yes.
God, that's a risky play. Oof.
It's at 3 cents right now.
You got to put money in there and just expect to flush it down the toilet. That's what I was telling Harrison. I was like, if you got $100, throw it on there. Who cares if it was $100?
Yeah, but what is that company responsible for doing?
It's actually it's a currency.
Oh, it's a currency.
It's like Bitcoin. So
Yeah,
you could go.
a
I mean, it's
whole
a
nother thing
currency,
I
but it's not
don't
like
get.
sanctioned by a country.
I just really wanted to buy the
ARR.
Arr.
It's at 14 cents. I mean, it's still pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But you'd have to plan on it going. What do you think, Harrison? You're way younger than us. I mean, have you studied Bitcoin at all in terms of they were first to market, the first kind of true crypto that I'd ever heard of, and people made billions off of that. I mean, collectively.
Right.
But a lot of people made a lot of money off the Bitcoin play. But that was so unforeseen. And the problem with some of these currencies is you have no idea.
Right.
I mean, it's not like a company where you could look at their financials and go, this doesn't make sense, this will pull back. Or, this is too low or it's too high as a multiple of earnings. I mean, it's just, there's no underlying value to some of these except for, you put money in it, but it doesn't, it's kind of whatever the market's going to do. I told Holden it was almost like tulip mania back in the 1700s or something, where it's huge tulip craze and people invested all their money in these tulips, and all of a sudden the market crashed and they're worth nothing.
All right.
Because they're flowers.
All right.
Who cares?
Huh. Weird.
I mean, I'm probably people in the know are like, that's completely wrong. There is something, but I mean, I'm from a market. I look from a market. I mean, it's just so much volatility. There's no way to know. It could triple. It could go in half. Who knows what it's going to do? So that's why the guy that I listened to said, if you're going to put money in that, put money in there you don't mind losing or taking a hit on. Because if you lose $100, but if it's at 3 cents a share, who cares?
I'm not sure if there is any such money, but
What do you mean?
throwaway money if
Yeah,
it
no
did
kidding.
exist.
Right.
Okay, so
Anyway, thanks for watching King's stock tips and tricks and financial analysis that you can't rely on.
okay, everybody. So don't forget, check us out on any of the podcast channels. Check out the merch store, asvcmerch.com.
Yep.
And we're going to be here most Mondays, somewhere around 11 to 12. And if you have any questions for us or have any feedback, don't hesitate to share it. So, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on 5 Boys in a Business.
We're out.